kuvumilia. We said that I'm going to start using English when I'm teaching in these lessons, and I'll know how to deal with Kiswahili later on in a different version. And today we are starting the book of Exodus, chapter 1. And I'm going to teach about this book in English, and we are going to save in whatever we call Zoom or the records which are there. So it is Rehoboth Harvest Ministry preaching the word of God and teachings from the book of Exodus, which is a very important book in the Bible because it is written for us to know so many things which we have never known. And it is going to teach us how to interpret some of the messages which are written and many people do not know about them. And we are going to see that at least all of them, we can understand what the Lord wanted us to understand. Most of the important thing that you should know today is that this book is very much political, is very much scientific, is very much educative. It is also philosophical. It has got almost every aspect of human life. And it has got also about the judgment, that is the commandments. And it has got also about the laws and the statutes. These are three dimensions of the law, because in the commandment, it is about God and his people. And in the laws is about people and their nation. And about the statutes is about the people in their community and the individuals. So these three areas are the ones which God is going to deal with to teach us how to live and be respectable people in our community, in our nation, and in this world. So when we are reading this book, is for you to know that I may touch some things which may be very sensitive in your area or in your understanding, but as I'm giving example, I'll have to give the example or relevant example which everybody can understand. So in case I touch anything, you feel that it is about you, please just forgive me, because we got to learn and we learn through experience with others, which had appeared earlier, and even what has happened to us and what is happening to many people, and they are not talking about it. So starting with the book of Exodus is the second book of the books of the 5 books which were written by Moses. And as we finished with Genesis, most of the things here are in reference of things which will happen later on in life, and also what we must experience when everything is getting on. We must understand that God wants us to know everything about what is happening around us and what we should know about each and everything that is happening in our vicinity and environment and in our families. So the first chapter of the book of Genesis is talking about the redemption of the people of God from Egypt. And that will continue from chapter 1 to chapter 18 of this book. So we shall be talking about the redemption of the people from Egypt. And then from chapter 19, we shall be going into another area of the people of God reaching Mount Sinai and getting the commandments and all those things. So please try to understand as we continue. In the first chapter, verse 1, I just start with the need of redemption from Egypt. That is chapter 1, verse 1 to 22. It is talking about the redemption, and it's good when we are discussing these things, although we can refer them from the YouTube, it's good also for you to be putting in some notes which you may refer easily, because what you note is very important to you and you can understand it better when you go through it after the lesson. So we start with Israel rapid multiplication. That is, the people of God, they were rapidly increasing in population. And as you can remember, I want you to remember one thing, that the Lord, in the book of Genesis chapter 1, verse 28, he told the people just, go and multiply and fill the earth. That was the first commandment of God, that we multiply and fill the earth. So that when we see in this book of Exodus, starting with verse 1 saying, the people of Israel started to increase, they were increasing. And I should touch a little bit of background history for you to understand how we have started this chapter. But I'll talk about it in a verse or two, or in the 50th verse, I'll talk about the book of Genesis a little bit for you to understand or grasp what the Lord wants us to know. So now Moses, these are the names of the children of Israel, that is the children of Jacob. When you see the name Israel, it refers to Jacob and it refers to the nations. The meaning of Israel is nations. But Jacob was the son of Isaac, and he was the chosen of God through the generation of Abraham, that God will bless the seed of Abraham. So understanding this, so these are the people, or these are the seeds of Jacob who came from Canaan to Egypt, which came into Egypt. Every man and his household came with Jacob. That is, all the children who are his, 12 of them, except one who was Joseph, who was already in Egypt. They came with their families, their wives, and their children. So all of them, they came with their father to the land of Egypt. That was the first group, is Reuben and Simeon and Levi and Judah. Those were the first sons of Leah who were born to Jacob in the land of Laban. And then we have Issachar and Zabulon and Benjamin. Those are also the children who are born to Jacob as he increased, even as he was coming back to the land of Canaan, where the Lord had promised him, the father, that he would give to them. And then there was Dan and Naphtali, Gad and Asher. All these children, they were all 12. There were 12 sons here. But you see, Joseph is not there. But when you count them, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah, those are 4. And then Issachar, Zabulon, and Benjamin, those are 7. And then Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher, those are 4 plus 7, they are 11. So one is missing, who is Joseph. He is not there. So when you are reading, you got to be particular to understand each and every word in the Bible has got a meaning. And each word missing, you must understand why that word is missing or is not there. Now, the reason we know that one son was not there, it was because he had gone earlier to Egypt. So he was not among the children who came from Canaan with his father Jacob. So, and all the souls, descendants of Jacob, numbered 70 in all. You will find that Joseph was already in Egypt. Now, if you read the Bible in the book of Genesis, you will find that there is something which says, it says that all the souls which came with Jacob to Egypt were 66. And then Joseph and his 2 sons, remember that? Joseph and his 2 sons and himself, they were now 70 plus Jacob. Understand this, because in a certain verse in the Bible, you are going to find that they came 66. And when they are 66, to make it 70, which they are saying they are 70, you must remember there is now Joseph, there is his son Ephraim, there is Manasseh, and there is their father, who is Jacob. Those are 4. 4 of them plus 66, it makes 70. That is how it was counted. So when they came to Egypt, now Joseph and his brothers and all the generation died. After leaving, you remember when they came to Egypt, that's where I said I will refer you a little bit in Genesis. When they went to Egypt, they were given the most fertile land in the delta of Goshen, just when it is entering the place or the sea, which we call Mediterranean. All that land is filled with the silt, which is very fertile, and it comes from the mountains of the Abyssinia, which is Ethiopia, and also comes from Lake Victoria. That shows you East Africa, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and Sudan. The river White Nile comes from the area of Sudan and Ethiopia. So this river, collecting all the fertile soil, it goes north into the Sea of Mediterranean. So at the delta, which is called Goshen, that's where the children of Israel went and settled. So when Pharaoh asked Joseph where the children of Israel will settle, he said they are only shepherds, and all they need is a place like Goshen to settle there. And so Pharaoh allowed them to settle there. meaning what? That is the most richest part of Egypt. And Joseph knew that his people will be very rich. You must note this, which is very important. And also, immediately after the people settled there, remember there was famine for 7 years, and there was riches of wealth and growth of food, wheat, and for another 7 years, which was earlier 7 years, and then hunger 7 years. Now, what happened during this time of hunger, when all the stores of Egypt were full, that's when the children of Israel came to Egypt. And when they came, Joseph settled them in Goshen. Goshen means the area of Delta, the riches of the soil. And the Bible says in the book of Isaiah 1, verse 19, it says that if you are willing to obey God, you will eat the good of the land. That means they were now going to start eating the promise of the Lord by eating the good of the land, or what comes from the land, because their sheep, their cattle, their everything were going to be fed by the riches of the soil. And also they were going to cultivate, and they were going to be very rich. What happened? Joseph had to consolidate them and make sure that economically they were taking hold of the economy of Egypt. So what did he do? He told the Egyptians, because of hunger, when they were coming for food, he asked them to pay. When their money was finished, he told them to give their wildlife, that is their cattle, their goats, and everything, for them to get food. And then when they had finished everything, Joseph told them to give in their land to the Pharaoh so that they can be given food. He made sure that the Egyptians had no land, and the land which remained was Goshen, which belonged to the children of Israel. Hallelujah. Do you understand this thing? When you understand, you can see how the Spirit of God was using Joseph to make sure that the people of God are blessed, and the people of the world, you see, the world, the wicked world, their riches were coming now to the people of God, and they became poor. So what happened? That's why they had to land in Egypt, because Egypt means the world. And now they were very rich, and the Egyptians were very poor. Can you see politically, these people of Egypt, the moment they realized that they don't have wealth, and the shops and everything and gold and everything which belonged to Egypt now belonged to the Israelites, they were bitter, they were feeling bad, and they felt that in case any king will come and tell them what to do, they will be ready to do, because they were suffering with the poverty. This is just logic enough to understand. When the people in your nation, they become very poor, because a certain people are making riches, the others becomes very bitter, and they hate the people who are working hard to get money. That's why you find there is problem and repercussions in many nations in Africa and the world. Why? Because the people who work very hard and they work in the soil, they get the wealth. The others who do not work, they become envious, they become jealousy, they start killing them. But they wait for somebody to light that fire and tell them these people are against us. And that is when everything will come up into light, and people start killing each other, killing one tribe. Now, this is exactly what God is trying to teach us. It happened in Egypt many years back, and it can happen again, because it says the history repeats itself. So it is for us, people of God, to be very careful and start living on our knee. That is in prayer every time, and praying for our nation, and trying very much not to be involved in politics. Because once we get involved in politics, we forget to pray, because we must agree with the politician. And the moment we agree, the nation will go into darkness. The moment the church sleeps, the country goes in darkness, and there is killing and murders and everything, and corruption and all these things, simply because the church have gone to sleep. They have forgotten to realize whom they are. So this is what happened in Egypt. Now, because that nation of Israelites, they were very rich. And it is the same thing which happened in 1939, when Hitler decided to start killing these people, because they were so powerful in Germany, and they were so strong. And not only that, I'll teach you, they did the same in Spain. They did the same in other countries around. They did the same in so many nations. If you read the history of the Jews, The same thing happens to the people who work hard, who are chosen by God, and who are God-fearing. The world do not like them because God makes sure these people are stable and they can be who they want to be because they are wealth. The moment you have wealth, you have the strength. The moment you have education, you have the strength. The moment you have the hold of the nation's economy, you become strong. And that's why every time I sing in the church, I tell people, please educate your children. Know the reason why you came here. Because there can come a time like this one. Now what happened? It came a time that all the generation who were with Joseph, who knew God, and they were known in Egypt, they all died. The moment these people died, there was nobody to remind the people that there were some important people like Joseph who held the economy of Egypt. Nobody reminded that. The people who remained, they were in bitterness, and the people who are the Israelites, they had intermarried with the Egyptians. You know, the moment people stay in a certain nation, after immigrating there, they start intermarrying with the people of that nation. That is what had happened to the Israelites who are still in Egypt. Although there were still few who had no blemishes, who still were Israelites, and they tried to keep their culture and traditions. But they couldn't keep it properly because of what? Because now they were more influenced by the Egyptians. And the people who knew their history, they had gone. There were no more. And that is why it is very important for you and me, my sister and brother, that we must teach our children about who we are and where we came from. That they don't forget, because it is from generation to generation. We got to tell them, this is what we are. This is where we came from. This is whom we are. Because there will come a time, the people who will be ruling in a nation that we have immigrated in will not know about us. And they will say, why are these people holding economy? And you can know most of the people will be engineers, doctors, and whatever. They will hold the wealth of this nation. And there will come a time when we are dead, when we are gone, what will happen to our generations? This is the most important thing to know. So people die. The generation, brothers of Joseph, cousins, whatever, they all died, those who knew about Canaan. And then, but the Israelites were fruitful. You see, although they died, they were fruitful. That means they were multiplying. They were following the commandment of God. They were reproducing. Walizaana, they continued increasing, because when you have children, when you are increasing in birth, in reproduction, you become more powerful, because the more you are in the family, the more inheritance you get. That is why the Israelites continued to be fruitful, because they were multiplying. They continued multiplying greatly, and they became exceedingly numerous. They became so many. Even if they were hated, they still multiplied. Even if everybody felt something bad, they were still multiplying. So nobody could fight them, because they were becoming stronger and stronger, although they were not loved. So that the land filled with them, the whole of land of Egypt, it was filled with them. Wherever you went, that was the tribe. Oh, that is an Israelite, that is an Israelite, that is an Israelite. That will happen. It is just like the same thing we are here now in this foreign nation. And you hear somewhere in Seattle, there is a Kikuyu. Somewhere in where there is a Kenyan, there is a Kenyan, there, Kenyan, there, Kenyan, there, Kenyan, there. That is how we are multiplying. That is what it means by multiplying. In some years to come, we shall be everywhere, Kenyan, 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 Kenyan. The only thing is we got to be focused. We got to be focused. We got to know who Kenyans are. I'm teaching this in relationship, and even other nations who are here, maybe Congo and other people, they should know they came from Africa, and they must not forget that we are immigrants in this nation. And as we multiply, as we continue multiplying, the people will not like us. And that is what the Bible is teaching us today. The people of Israel continued to multiply. The Israelites' suffering started there. The moment they multiplied, part B, we are talking now about why their suffering came. Is because they were multiplying, and they were fruitful, and they were rich. Definitely, when you are fruitful and when you are multiplying, you control the economy of that nation, because you are in everywhere in the office where it is needed. So the new king, there came, that is from verse 1 to verse 14, chapter 1, verse 8 to 14. It says that then a new king, then, you see, the king who knew about Joseph, the king who knew about the people of Israel. Then the king who knew who they were and respected them, that is a new king. Then a new king who did not know Joseph came to power in Egypt. Somebody who never knew about Joseph. Yeah, when you read the history, you hear is a king from the northeast. He came down, conquered that place which is called Egypt. And when they took the power, he became the king of that nation. So when we are reading now chapter 1, you hear he's a new king. But by the time we finish chapter 1, he will not be a new king. He will be Pharaoh. Hallelujah. He will be Pharaoh. You got to understand. Now, being a new king, he was a foreigner. He had taken power. And he came in, he never knew about Joseph. So he never knew the history of Egypt very well. He never knew about those things very well. So he knew that he had conquered the land. He came with his soldiers and the people who were under him, who were called traitors and others. And now he found a nation of people who are called Israelites, and they were very strong. And he wanted to subdue them, to put them down so that he can be able to rule. Like just something was said in a certain country, somewhere in Africa. If you want to rule very well this country, you must suppress the people who are rich. When you suppress them, you can be able to rule. That is the principle most of the youth people use. But that is a failure, because the moment you subdue some people or you oppress some people because they are rich and they belong to that nation, the nation will be more poorer, because those people will not be they will not be productive. They will start dying, you kill them, you do whatever, the country declines, it goes down and becomes poor. That is why we must not kill any member of a nation who is in that nation, for our nation to prosper. So these people now, the new king came. He never knew about Joseph. He took power. And then what did he say? He said, if you read verse 9 very careful, it is said, look, he told his people, look, he told the people now, because he was the king, look, he said to his people, those people who knew about him, those people who are supporting him in power, he told them, the Israelites have become much too numerous for us. That is first point. That is a propaganda. You see, and although it is a propaganda, it is a fact. He said, they come with facts. He said, look, that is to alert them. Look, just around you, what is happening? Watch what is happening around you. The people who are called Israelites has become much too numerous for us. They have become too many for us. What should we do? And then he told them in verse 10, come, we must deal with them shrewdly, in a cunning way. We must deal with them. That is, in a shrewd way, is a way that people won't know what is happening, but inside them, they are suppressing them slowly, removing their power of the economy, closing their shops, refusing them licenses, refusing them to move ahead, and even taking care of the children at birth in hospitals. They are killed all before time, and even reintroduce family planning or something like that to make sure that the seed is not multiplied. That is how to kill a nation or people shrewdly, in a cunning way. So what happened with them? And they will become even more numerous. If we don't do that, they are going to increase and become so numerous. So they must make a way to deal with the children of Israel. If war breaks out, you see, it's giving the reason. If the war breaks out with the enemies, they will join the enemies and fight against us. You see, although he's using a very cunning way, if the war breaks out, these people of Israelites will join the enemy and fight against us. Against who? Listen here. These people already, they owned the land. They belonged to Egypt. The land was theirs. How could they go and fight and destroy their own property? They could not destroy their own property. They were there to protect their property and protect their king. But now the king, because he knows he can't rule them properly, he is telling the people who are poor, who do not work hard, who are the Egyptians, if these people will join the enemies, we shall be in trouble. That is political approach towards people to make them hate each other, and they were living in harmony for over 400 years. Now somebody is putting poison amongst those people. That's why we have tribal crashes and other things in other nations because of the people who utter words which are dangerous to the people and they poison the people. This is the same way the king of Egypt used the technique. It was used many years back. And now leave the country. And he says, those people will leave the country. Go where? If you have property here in this nation, where will you go after you have acquired so much? But the politicians will use that language to make sure your neighbor hates you. This is what happened in Egypt. And that's why I told you this book is very important to understand, because it enlightens us to know what is happening around us. And then he said, these people will run out of the country after joining others. That means they will leave us and make sure that we are destroyed and we are normal, and then they will run out. To go where? Where they came from. That is Canaan. That is what he's trying to tell you. And now, so what is the reaction? He told the people, they put, what happened? The reaction was, they put slave masters to start over the Israelites. They started putting slave masters, people to oppress to oppress the Israelites. And they forced them in a forced labor. They started giving them forced labor, and they forced them to build a city for them called Pithom and Ramesses. These two cities, you must understand. It means these two cities, it means they were city of gods. Let me tell you, Pithom means P of Atum. P of Atum. Atum was a god of Egypt. That is P Atum. And then Ramesses is Ra-Mes. Ra-Mes was the god of the sun, the creator who is believed in Egypt. And so these two cities were related to God. And that is where they were the city of wealth, because it says as the store cities for Pharaoh. That is when now the name Pharaoh comes in. So these two cities were forced to be built by the Israelites as slaves, so that it could be the store or the treasure cities for the Pharaoh. That is, this treasure will come from where? That is the question to ask yourself. Why have they built two cities next to each other, near to each other? And when you look at the geography of Egypt, you will find these two cities, Pithom and Ramesses, were built near to each other and near the land of Goshen. That's where these two cities were built, and the Israelites were forced to build them for Pharaoh. Now he's calling himself Pharaoh because he is relating now with the Egyptians. Although he was a new king who came from another nation, now he has adapted himself to being an Egyptian, and now he's telling them, now we got to build a city which these people must do through the slave masters and build them Pithom and Ramesses, the cities of God, so that they can put in the treasures in those cities. What does it mean? It means that they were near the place you call what? The place you call the Goshen. So all the wealth of the Israelites, which was in Goshen, they had to make sure that it is stored in a nearer place, that it cannot be robbed when being transferred to another city far off. So this was in the dynasty of Egypt, when that king was ruling, and they started building that city, and these two cities were big. But the more they were oppressed, the more they oppressed the Israelites. You see, now they have built the cities, their wealth has been taken. Just the same way Hitler took wealth from the Jews in 1939 to 1945. He took all the wealth, and they were put in trains, and they were taken in the cities like Treblinka and Aswan and Dachau, and they were killed there. The same thing was happening, many of them. This history is repeating itself. And it is not for them, it is for you and me also to learn and understand how things work in history. So, my brothers and sisters, but the more they oppress you, the more they multiply, and the more they multiply. When they were oppressed, they multiplied the more. You see what happens to God? God cannot fail. Whenever the enemy is trying to kill you, God will increase you. So the people continued increasing, and they spread in Egypt. They became more in the land of Egypt. Although they were in one area of Goshen as their reserve, now they spread and they were in every part of Egypt. And so the Egyptians came to dread and fear the Israelites. So now, because of that, we are oppressing these people. We are pushing them. We don't want them to succeed. But still, these people are multiplying, and we know how they are dying. And when they are dying, they are still multiplying. When they go to the bedroom, they have children. They are giving birth. What is happening to these people? The Bible teaches us there in verse 12. It says, the Egyptians dreaded. They feared them. That is, dreading is fearing. They feared them so much. The moment you start multiplying, the moment you start taking the land, the people of that land will start fearing you. Why? Because they can see the danger of you being very rich and wealthy in that nation. And that is what it should be for. Nobody should have. Look here, the Egyptians, we are told that Egyptians loved to have life and enjoy themselves. They never thought about their wealth in Goshen and other places. While the Israelites were working hard to acquire more wealth. And when they were acquiring, they were not drunks. They were not people who did not know what to do. They knew they came from somewhere, but they settled there knowing that they came there with a purpose. What happened? They were dreaded. And when they were dreaded, what will happen? And they worked them more ruthlessly. The Egyptians worked them more ruthlessly. They added more temper, more punishment, more whatever towards these people so that they can oppress them. But let me tell you, they made their lives bitter. They made the lives of those people very bitter. They made it so bad that the Israelites thought it was not even good to live. But mark you one thing, the Egyptians continued punishing them, but the Israelites continued multiplying. So what happened? They were given hard labor, the bricks and mortar, they were making that. They made all the pyramids. You read them in history. You read all these things. They were made by the Israelites during those times. The tombs of the gods of Egypt, the pharaohs, they were made by these guys. That's why you hear the brick and the mortar. They were the people who are making them, and they made them in such a way that history still even today, everybody wants to go to Egypt to see. And there is something I want you to note. Do you know the biggest university, first university, and also the largest library in the world? The first university, the largest library in the world was in Goshen. This is something you must know, and it is called Alexandria. Alexandria was a city which was in Goshen. And who were there? The Israelites. These are things you got to remember in history, that they made that impact in the world even today. So they made the brick and mortar, the punishment was so bitter, the hard labor was added into them, and with all kinds of work, and they were taken even in the land, in the fields, in the chambers to go and work there also. And in their hard labor, the Egyptians used them ruthlessly. The Egyptians made sure that they were punishing them in every way that they should not multiply and they should be diminishing instead of increasing. So what happened? The Pharaoh had to put in a new plan because these people are not getting finished. And the new plan was the plan to eliminate the Israelites. Now, he resulted in death. He wanted to make sure that the seed of the Israelites will not exist. And what does he do? Verse 15, it says that from verse 15 to 22, the Pharaoh had made a way to start killing now the seed. He wants to kill them completely. He doesn't want anybody to survive because he has tried to kill the grown-up men and women by giving them hard labor, whatever, they die by hunger, whatever. He tries to kill their economy and whatever, but he has failed because they continued multiplying and they increased and spread in the whole of Egypt. So what did he do? He designed a way now to kill them from the root. And he said, the king of Egypt said, the Hebrew midwives, whose names were Shiphrah and Puah, when he told these two women, and these two women, I don't want to go deeper into that, but I should touch it to you because I want you to understand the narratives of the Bible and how it incorporates some information from here and there. What it means, Shiphrah, it is related when you read the book of the Hebrews, the Jews, the rabbi, that is the Judaism. When you read those books, you will find that they say Shiphrah was Miriam, that she was the midwife. That is how they refer it. And they refer to Puah, she was a girl from Canaanites, the land they were in. That means that a few Canaanites came together, or the wives who were married by the children of Jacob, there were Canaanites who came and joined them. But they became the Jews, the Hebrews. They became the Hebrews who are there. Now, I'm giving you a little bit deeper information about that. And now, these two women who are midwives, they were helping women when they were giving birth. What happened to them? They loved being Hebrews. They loved themselves and they cared so much about themselves and their people. So when the Pharaoh called them and told them what to do, what did he tell them to do? When you have the Hebrew women in childbirth and observe them on the delivering stool, if it is a boy, kill him. But if it is a girl, let her live. Now, this is where the story is. Now he told these women, because he knew now he can't kill the grown-up men. They were defending themselves. There are others who are very powerful. They were rich. You can't kill rich people, all of them. It is very hard. When you hold the economy and you have something, you will not be shaken. But if you are poor, you will be shaken. The poor people also do not know how to fight because you fight with what you have. So he said now, these two women in the maternity, that is, in the maternity where the children are born, that is the way he's trying to explain that during those days. When the child of a Hebrew is being born and you see that child is a boy, kill it, twist it his neck, make sure it is dead. But if it is a girl, let it live. Do you know that is the plan of the devil? You have never thought about it. That is the plan of Satan. Because at the beginning, God told Adam and Eve, go and live and multiply. Go and multiply. That is the first commandment. Give birth, fill the world. That is found in the book of Genesis 1, verse 28. Go and multiply. So Satan knew very well that if they multiply, they will increase and God will be happy because they will worship him. But Satan wanted to let God down. And that is now through Pharaoh, he's telling these women, kill the seed. So if the boys are killed, the seeds will be no more. And what will happen to women because they are living? There will be more women and they will have children with the people of the world. Do you understand? They will start having children with the people of the world who do not know God. And the world will increase with the people, but the seed of God will be killed. What will happen after many years? Women will be more and men will be less. The scarcity of the seed will continue and the women will increase. And when the scarcity of the seed is diminished completely, it is not there, what will happen? The women will be alone and also the women will be destroyed. The world will have nobody. It will be void and useless. Those are years to come. Now you can see now today, the statisticians, the people who talk about statistics and whatever, they say that in every one man, there is 7 women. And now you can see the number is increasing as it was planned in Egypt, in the land of the devil, because a Pharaoh here is referred as Satan himself, Lucifer. So he's planning the way to make the downfall of God's plan in the man's life. So this is what is happening. He said, all the people holding the seed, that is the men, must die. But the women can be, so that they will continue giving children from the other nations. Now, what happened? The midwives, however, they feared God. That is the most important thing in verse 17. The midwife feared God and did not do what the king of Egypt had told them to do. They let the boys live. You see, when they were giving service to the women who are giving birth to the children, and they saw that it was boys, not only Moses was saved. The Bible here is telling us these women made sure all the boys lived. No boy was killed. They didn't kill anybody. And this brought into attention of Pharaoh. He saw that the boys are still there. They are still running on the streets. The children are still growing. And then he called them. Then the king of Egypt summoned them and the midwives and asked them 2 questions. Why have you done this? What? They have done what? They have refused to obey his order or his command. And the second one, why have you let the boys leave? Why did you let the boys leave? So the Pharaoh, the king, was very cross with them. He was not happy with them. But he could do nothing because they had a reason. They had a way to support themselves. What did they say in verse 19? They said, the midwife answered Pharaoh, and they said, Hebrew women are not like Egyptian women. They are vigorous and give birth before the midwives arrive. You see, they say that when the women of Hebrews were going to deliver, they were not waiting for the midwives. Already when they start feeling pain, they could deliver themselves. We have heard of women who deliver themselves even when the midwives come, they find the women holding babies. We have seen that. We have seen even women who deliver at home with their husband and everything is finished. By the time the midwives come, everything is good. That is how Shiphrah and Puah told Pharaoh, these women are not like the women of the world. That is the women of Egypt. These people, these women of Hebrew, they know how to deliver. The moment they start feeling pain, they deliver before we go. By the time we reach there, we find already they have eaten the child. That is what it means. Because if somebody delivers a child who is supposed to be killed, and the midwife is coming when they have already delivered, it means the midwife did not find the child. They found the woman and the child was not there. So the child was hidden. So Pharaoh could do nothing. He could do nothing about them. And so God was very happy with Shiphrah and Puah. He said what? So God was kind to the midwives. God was very kind to them. He respected, he gave them a gift. And that is, he rewarded them. God rewarded them because of covering or retaining or hiding the lives of the children of the chosen people. So what happened? The people increased. The people continued to increase and it became even more numerous. Even when they were employed to do that, they were being paid whatever they were being paid by Pharaoh to kill the children. And they were not killing because they defended themselves. Now what happened? The children of Israel increased more than they were. And because the midwife feared God, he gave them families of their own. So God rewarded Shiphrah together with Puah and gave them their families. What does it mean? These women had families. These women, let me touch a little bit of history because some things you will not find them in the Bible. But when you start the Bible history and whatever, and from the books which were written by the first person who wrote about the book after Moses, Josephus, we call him Josephus. He talked about Huri and Miriam. That is, Miriam was married to Huri. And Huri, you remember, he was standing with Harun at the mountain on the Rephidim when Moses was praying for the people who are being killed by the Amalekites, the body. These people, they were fighting with Joshua down there, and Moses was getting tired and brought his hands down. And so Harun and Huri, they went there to help him by holding his hand so that he could pray, so that Joshua could defeat the Amalekites. So this is what it means. They were given their family, their stability. That is, they were respected now in the land of Egypt through the Hebrews. They respected them so much. That is what it means. They were given families. They were loved by families because of saving their children and refusing to do about what the Pharaoh wanted them to do by killing their seed. What happened? They refused to be traitors. They refused to be traitors to their people. But you see, some people, when they go to a nation where they have immigrated, they turn to be traitors. Whenever they are given money, they are able to sell their own people. That is wrong. We should be like Puah and Shiphrah. We must stand with our people. We must stand with our people. Whatever happens, you must cover them. That is what, and God will reward them as he did to Puah and Shiphrah. When God sees that you cover your brother and your sister, God will continue covering you so you can help him because God works with you and me. God have got no hands. God had no legs. What he does, he uses you because God is a spirit. So the moment you start working with God, you make the spirit of God work with you and you follow his instruction, he will respect you and he will reward you. And that's why you find people who are falling on the side of God and they are always saying and also doing what God is telling them to do, they become very successful because God must give them protection for them to continue doing what the Lord wants because God uses people to do what he wants to do. So my brothers and sisters, then the Pharaoh gave his order. He gave his last order now. total elimination. He wanted to eliminate everybody. To all his people, that is, now he gave to all the Egyptians, all the people who are called Egyptians. That is what it means by to all his people, all of them now, not the few policemen or the military or whatever, those who are working now. He gave to all the people of Egypt. Every boy that is born, you must throw into the river Nile. Because of what? But every girl must live. Because of what? Now the people could not continue killing the children because some of them were very kind. And it was all the population of Egypt, the Egyptian. Every child you see, a boy is born, and you see that child, throw it in the river. So it was easy for them to get the baby, throw in the river. Get the baby, throw in the river. What does that mean on the side of God? On the side of God, we say, water is life. Water is life. So the moment children were thrown in the river, not all of them would die. Some of them, they went with the river to Goshen, to other areas, and they got a rescue somewhere else. But they could not die, all of them, and nobody killed them. Because the moment you put something in water, you give it life. So they continued multiplying, they became so many, and the plan of the devil that he had planned, that the men be eliminated completely and there will be no seed of the people of God, God was fighting against it, and he started giving them the idea, throw them into the river, that is, they will continue living, the seed will not be finished. So, and the women will not increase in that number which Pharaoh wanted them to increase. And so, this first chapter, it shows now the Pharaoh is defeated. Whatever he wanted to do, whatever he wanted to finish these people of Israel, now he could not do it. He tried all the techniques, but he never succeeded. So after all, he had to give up. And now in the next chapter, we are going to see what God is going to do about with his people so that they cannot be finished, but he will start now to have a dimension, a way that is going to safeguard these people of Israel through giving them a proper leadership, so that the Pharaoh will think that he have finished them when they were increasing and they had to become, or they had to have what we call the sense of leadership and the preparation of the deliverer. And that is where we are going next week. And God bless you, and the Lord be with you. And as we continue, God will open your mind that we get to understand the plan of God in our lives as we are living today. Let's pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, we come to you.